What if they just want to fire you because you're bringing a lawyer to renegotiate your employment offer, for like the annual employment offer renewal or something like that? I mean, can that happen? And what do you do in that situation?
Sure, that can happen because that's not illegal to hire. It's not illegal to fire somebody because they brought a lawyer with them. And it's not illegal to fire somebody because they're negotiating, quote unquote, too hard. Okay. So if you're in that situation, that's your risk. That's always a risk. In negotiating, there's always a risk that somebody's going to say no and they're not going to want to negotiate any further. Right. When you walk to the door, as you're in sales, when you walk to the door, the classic, I'm walking to the door if you don't want to negotiate anymore, and they let you open the door and walk out, then you don't have a deal. That's your risk now. And that's a real risk in employment, right? Because then you'll be on the street. And that's what a lot of people worry about. I have to be honest with you. That's what they worry about. And sometimes it does happen. But in my experience, it's anecdotal, it's not statistical. I didn't take a study. In my experience, the worst that could happen mostly is somebody will say no when you bring a lawyer. But often you'll get a lot more if you try to negotiate than otherwise, because if you're good at what you do, now there are certain companies that say, honestly, and this is the risk, you're out of here. I don't care how good you are. I don't care what your sales were. I don't care how good an employee you are. But a whole bunch of companies will think they'll make a business decision and they'll say, okay, we got to pay that person more. We have to give them more to keep them around. And then you push and they push back and eventually you come to some resolution. So again, if you're successful at what you do, there are companies that just won't negotiate. There's some out there I could tell you, and won't mention them here, that won't negotiate. But a lot will make the business decision. It's a cost of doing business, how much you pay your employee. So if your employee has a tremendous return and you're a shrewd business person as a boss or a CEO, then you're going to pay that person more. That's what I'm talking about. People underappreciate how valuable they are to the company. Whether they pay somebody $100,000 or $120,000 or $150,000 a year in certain positions is irrelevant to the company because they're getting such a big return. But if you don't ask for, in this example, 150 and you're making 130, you've undersold yourself and you've given that money, that extra amount, you've given it to the company. So they're happy to take it. And to HR. HR is always going to tell you you're not worth what you're asking for because that's their job. Right. So what? They don't make the business decisions, which is why we often tell our clients, if you can, negotiate directly with the decision maker and keep HR out of it. If you can, it's not always possible.